So the good news is, as we start this credit card quiz preview, you know how I work. This is going to be pretty darn similar to what you're going to see tomorrow. So I would suggest on a couple of fronts, seeing how this works, keeping it simple, and that way when you get to tomorrow and you basically see something similar, it should be fairly easy. That's the idea. So, okay, let's do this. Brad received his credit card account statement. I'm going to use two colors on all this. I'll show you why in a minute. So if you think that would help, you can grab a couple from my little bucket in the back. He had a previous statement of $978.56. Okay, that's money he owes. And a finance charge of $1134. Money he owes. He made purchases, which are going to owe on, of $1987, $1102.98, and $95. This guy's a spending machine. His account was credited $250. Now, that may have been a mistake on somewhere, some promotion, who knows? But that gets a different color because that's money he gets to subtract from what he owes. And then he made a payment, and he gets to subtract that part. So basically, all I'm telling you here is, with the two colors you see, we're going to add, yes, I'm sure. No, I want out of here. Get out of here. Yes, I'm sure. Get out of there. Okay. So everything underlined in purple, we're going to add. And whatever we get, okay, that's the part we owe. Now I take the stuff in, I don't know what you call this, cyan, green, whatever it happens to be. Add those up. And we're going to take that away from what we owe. So if I'm kind of trying to define things here, this is what I owe. This is what I paid, is basically all we're doing. And that is going to get us to what Brad's new balance is. That's it. So if all you're trying to do is figure out a new balance, you take all the stuff that would count against you, finance charges, previous balances, purchases, add them all up, and then anything you get credited for, make a payment for, you get to take off. So the first two, we got one to use to help us with the other. It's the exact same thing. Holy cow, Josh is making Brad look like a cheapskate here. We got a previous balance of over $4,200. That's a little ridiculous. Finance charge, owe that. Bought even more stuff. Oofda. Hope Josh has a good paying job. His account was credited $35. Okay, we get to take that off. Ooh, he made a payment of $3,400. Good job, Josh. At least on that part. So again, all my purples, all my expenses to me need to get added up. Oh, it's going to be a tough one to swallow here. Oof, duh. And then the amounts that he paid, we'll add those up. And those we get to subtract from what we owe. So again, purple is what we owe, green is what we paid. And whatever is left is what our new balance is. So Josh actually brought his balance down. Good job. So if we're just asked for a balance, that's all you do. Okay? Bad stuff gets added. Good stuff, payments get added. And we subtract. We're done. Then we go up a step. It's not going to be terrible, but it's a step. Bianca has a charge account, which uses the unpaid balance method of computing finance charges. Okay, that's kind of important to know. The periodic rate is 4.25%. We'll come back to that. If her previous balance is $7,461.90, and she had payments and credits, okay, payments and credits are good, we get to subtract those. Find her unpaid balance and finance charge. If she has new purchases, $362.65, find her new balance. Okay, here's how this works. So her unpaid balance, it just says right there, previous balance, unpaid balance, same thing. That's the only one I'm putting there. Nothing to add to it yet. The finance charge, let me change colors for that, is going to be what she owes times that percentage as a decimal. Remember, we're going to divide that by 100 to get the decimal. That is not changed. So again, that's just the finance charge. So here's how this is going to work. This time, we're going to take her unpaid balance. We're going to add the finance charge. And I'm just seeing payments and credits. There they are. I lost the payments and credits for a minute. I was like, wait a minute. What the heck is going on around here? I got to grab something too. Because I'm thinking as I'm doing this, I might have missed something when I put this on the key. And I just want to make sure I didn't screw this up. Okay. Now here comes the question. So there was her balance. We figured out the finance charge on that balance. Okay, got that part done. We subtracted what she paid. What am I going to do with the $362.65? Yeah, unfortunately we bought more stuff while we owe it. So we got to add that back in. Oofda, that's a lot of stuff. Okay. So we add the finance charge. We subtract what we paid, and we add the new stuff. Oh, we still owe way too much money. So you're like, okay, so what's the difference between that, the unpaid balance, and if you didn't pay it? Here, I'd also had to add in the $362.65 before I did the finance charge. But with this, we don't have to worry about that. That just gets added on at the end, which actually saves us some money. So that's kind of nice. So, yeah, that's where some of the color stuff might come in handy as you're looking. So you're like, okay, if 4 is the same, it is. I go through, I'm like, all right, unpaid balance, yep. Periodic rate, yep. Okay, previous balance is $673.61. It's always just going to be one number, so no worries there. Now, the finance charge is based on that, so $673.61 times, there's my rate, divide that by 100. If we need the calculator to get that number, that's okay. And again, this is money. We're going to go to the nearest cent. I don't want all those decimals. So $22.90 will be just fine. And now we're ready to calculate what this balance is going to be. So we got our previous balance, our old charges. That gets included. We got this new finance charge because we didn't pay it off last month. That gets included. Payments and credits of $400. Well, there's something positive. We get to take that off. But I'm like, why? You paid off $400, but now we're going to put 441 new on there. I'm like, oh dear. All this adding and subtracting. But the nice thing about this is, basically, the only decision you have to make each time you're doing this is, am I adding or subtracting? There's no other real work or looking of things I have to do. I just do that part and I'm set. So we had done work on a balance. We'd worked on an unpaid balance method. The other option we worked with last week was the average daily balance. And that's what we're going to finish up with. So, Bill did not pay his last bill in full, so he's going to have some finance charges. So, average daily balance means there's going to be a chart involved. And again, my apologies for the small numbers. I will, let's see, let me try something just a minute here. It might not help on your own individual sheet, but it might help when you can see it when it's a little bit bigger up here. If it decides it's going to focus, which it's not. Focus. Okay. So for the first 14 days of the month, Bill doesn't pay anything on his $823.14 balance. So basically, all you have to do for the chart, whoops, is type the values in right, and just multiply. So 823.14 times 14. As we said when we were doing this in class, this does not mean now that Bill owes over $11,000. Credit card companies are not that bad. They can be a little shady, but not that shady. Then Bill gets smart, pays $350 off, bringing his balance down to $473.14. So the first day he does that, we just use that value. And then Bill doesn't pay anything for the rest of the cycle, so he has another 13 days at that same rate. Again, just multiplying, just like it says to do in the chart. So once we get done, add them all up. Whole lot of adding. But I'm not done. That is not my average daily balance. Because I still have to take that number and divide it by the number of days that happen to be in that cycle. And that can vary. So don't always assume that it's going to be 28. But in this case, it is. So I'll take that and just divide it by 28. And so if we were going to be going and calculating Bill's finance charge, which we're about to do, that's the number it's going to be based on that we're doing times the percentage. So I have to get this right first, because if I don't, well, the second part's kind of we're in trouble. So, speaking of that, Bill has a finance charge of 6%. Take my average daily balance from the last problem. Divide the 6 by 100. Oops, it would help Hardy if you were in the screen. Man, trying to make the screen bigger, and now it's just causing me different problems. $38.89. We'll round to 9. 89 cents. So his new balance, pretty easy to see, is add these two together. Getting there. 687.03. Yeah, the charge companies definitely can do things differently sometimes, which gets to be a little bit interesting. But at the same time, you know, it's a fairly consistent way that they do it, which doesn't leave us with many surprises. So our last problem is the same thing. So you're like, wait. So this quiz tomorrow is basically, I'll just tell you, it's 8 questions. 2 questions just finding the new balance, 2 questions dealing with a finance charge, and then 2 questions where we're figuring this out. So, you know, if you're surviving this okay, and just look it over a little bit if need be, and maybe finish the ones that are similar in your packet, not a terrible idea. I don't think it's going to be too stressful, to be honest. So, one more time. Always just multiplying by the number of days. Here, we knocked that down a little bit here. Oh, no, we made a purchase. Oh, dear, it went up instead of down. Oofda. I'm sitting here trying to give Jan credit, and Jan's tacking more onto her bill. Not cool, Jan. Not cool. So again, she carries that balance for 3 more days. Gets that done. Then, okay, now we're smart. Now we make a payment. That's a good thing. Now we got a little tiny balance, which is much better. Again, just multiplying the numbers. We do this all the way down. Oh, makes another purchase. Jan. Just pay it off, Jan, before you buy any more stuff. Okay, lots of action this time because we had a couple of purchases and a payment, so that balance kept changing. But we still have got the 28 days. So we will add those all up. Get that sum, and then divide by the number of days. So we've got our average daily balance. And I can see from my one above here where we're heading with this. Take that balance. There is our finance charge. Again, don't use 5.25. That'd be 525%. That's more like the cash loan places. Divided by 100. $6.81, not 681. That'd be terrible. And then just add those up. That, ladies and gentlemen, is basically the quiz tomorrow. Like I said, no crazy mega problems, no No me trying to turn this into a 27-step process. It's straightforward. It gets that, and then it'll allow us again to introduce this little project thingy that's going to be in 2 pieces that we're going to do for the last 2.5 days of the week, and then we'll be looking at loans starting next week.